talk about the last episode of Mama June. It starts off and we see Pumpkin, June, Jessica, and Justin all go out for lunch, and while they're all sitting there eating, they're all talking about the latest that they've been up to. And everybody is pretty much scolding Jessica because Jessica went on this cruise with Cheyenne. Pumpkin is all bothered and acts like she's bothered with the relationship, but more than anything, I think Pumpkin's just mad because she has one less hand around the warehouse, and really she's just thinking, oh, I need to move, I need this extra help so I can spend more time with my boyfriend. And June is getting onto Jessica because she feels like Cheyenne is just using Jessica, and Jessica was like, look, this is why I didn't tell you guys, because you guys never have anything nice to say, you're not supportive. And Pumpkin's like, well, I think that Cheyenne's a little young. I think Cheyenne's just fine. She has a child that she's been raising well. She's employed. She seems to have her shit together. And I mean, Pumpkin really has no room to be giving dating advice. I mean, she literally went from her husband to dating her former husband's cousin. Like, what the hell is that? So she was on her phone the whole time at this lunch, and June and Jessica, they're not dumb. They know Pumpkin, and when she's on her phone and glued to her phone like that, it's because she's mighty invested in someone. So June called it out, and she said, who you talking to? And Pumpkin had a little crooked smile, and she's like, yeah, so I got me a little boyfriend. And June was like, is it someone we know? Because they're from a small town, so everybody knows everybody. So they already know it's someone they likely know. And Pumpkin's like, yeah. And she's like, who is it? And she's like, yeah, it's Josh's cousin, Darren. And June was like, are you serious? And I'm glad that June had that reaction because I was scared that June was going to encourage it. But June was like, how the hell would you feel if Josh got with one of your sisters? And even June doesn't like Josh. She literally celebrated Pumpkin and Josh no longer being together, which I thought was messed up. She's already put that man through enough. She doesn't need to tap dance on his grave on the way out. And then Pumpkin got all offended because she found out that Jessica told Josh that she was going to be proposing to Cheyenne, and she didn't tell anyone else in her family. She pretty much told her family that she had no idea she was going to do this. This was like a spur of the moment thing, which I highly doubt it was a spur of the moment thing, you know, because saving up for an engagement ring, that takes time, and, you know, it takes a lot of planning, and I'm sure that's part of the reasons they wanted to go on this cruise. Jessica was probably like, I'll make a special moment out of this, and she told Josh, and that made Pumpkin feel some type of way. Then freaking June had the audacity to say that she feels like Jessica and Josh are doing something behind closed doors. She's like, well, Pumpkin got with his cousin, so maybe he's trying to get with Jessica, and maybe that's why they're all buddy-buddy. It's like, come on, woman, be real. For years, he was a main character in the family. He was close with Jessica and Alana, so it's going to be normal for them to still want to have a friendship after all these years of being close. I really hope Alana still has a close relationship with Pumpkin after everything, or not Pumpkin, but Alana after everything he's done for her through all these years. I'm scared that she's going to take like Pumpkin's side and probably distance herself from him, but I really hope that's not the case. That's one question that I'm definitely curious about, is where they stand nowadays. But yeah, June was saying, oh yeah, Jessica might be trying to get Josh's go-go juice so she can have a baby with Cheyenne, so maybe she's trying to sleep with him. I'm like, oh my god, June just be saying anything. Now I'm convinced like half the shit that she's probably said on this show, she probably doesn't even believe. She's just saying so she can have like a crazy article or, you know, headliner to use, and people are gonna run with it saying, oh, Jessica's hanging out with Josh for his go-go juice. Anybody with half a brain knows that's not the case, but June was like, oh, well, maybe since he can't get Pumpkin, he's going to move on to Jessica next. I'm like, oh my god. Just because Pumpkin's weird and doesn't give a damn about keeping in the family doesn't mean that everybody else is like that. And then later on, Pumpkin was just sitting there, and suddenly she gets a call that Josh is in the hospital and he is injured pretty bad. So she rushes to the hospital, and they showed pictures of his truck, and his truck was bad. So apparently he was driving and the sun was in his eyes, so when he was turning he didn't see this lady coming, and this lady hit him and his truck flipped over. He's not sure how many times his truck flipped over because the airbags went off and everything just happened so fast, but it definitely flipped at least one time, and his whole truck was totaled. And this is an expensive truck. He says this is the nicest thing he's ever owned in his life, and it's so heartbreaking because here he is losing his marriage. He feels like he's losing everything else he has, and now he's losing his other most prized possession, his truck, which has left him devastated. But thank God he is still here and alive and well. He's beat up, he's bruised pretty good, he's all scraped up. You can see all the visible injuries on him after the crash, but luckily he's okay. Pumpkin was able to go get him from the hospital. I think that same exact day he was discharged. She picks him up, takes him back to the house, and it was his week with the kids. And if that was Pumpkin, I would have been like, okay, you're probably sore, I'll go ahead and take the kids until you feel better. But Josh still wanted to spend time with his kids for the week, even though he was all beat up and bruised, because he's like a wake-up call for him. He realized how his life really could be here tomorrow. So he wants to spend as much time with his kids as possible. And he also is realizing what's really important at the end of the day, and that's family. So now all of a sudden, he is determined that he wants to get his family back. And he just is like, I finally see it clear now. And too bad this didn't happen a year prior, because now it's a little too late. And he ends up showing back up to the house, and Jessica's there, and he walks in with this bouquet of flowers, and Jessica's like, what's going on? I'm like, okay, maybe he's trying to pull Jessica, like June was saying. Jessica said, who are those flowers for? And he said, your sister. After today, and after she showed how much she cared about me, she rushed to come help me. I think that maybe I should give her these flowers, and maybe we can try our marriage over again. And Jessica was just looking at Josh like, dude, if only you knew. And he could read it all across her face. She really didn't even have to say anything, but she said, yeah, Pumpkin is probably not going to do that. And he's like, why not? And she's like, yeah, she's moved on. She's dating someone else. And he's like, who is it? And she's like, your cousin Darren. And I'm surprised that they're actually saying the cousin, because I thought for sure Pumpkin was going to go through hell and high water to try to keep that off the show, that Darren is Josh's cousin. But they're just being out and open about it, and that was like a stab in Josh's heart. You could tell he was so hurt, so betrayed. That's the last person he would expect Pumpkin to get with, and that just kind of throws out all hope for him and his marriage. So I think he's finally going to be able to move forward and leave that in the past. And another thing that just drove me crazy, the past few episodes, the kids, they make my anxiety so high watching them at times. Like, both the kids at one point were on top of their high chairs, hanging out like here, like we see one here, and at one point the other kid in the other high chair, both of them were doing doing that at the same time. I'm like, oh my god, one of them is gonna fall. I was just waiting for one of them to fall. And then a few episodes back, the kids were sitting on the table, and all of a sudden it cut real quick, and it looked like one of the kids fell off the table. And it kind of reminded me, like in one of the first episodes of Honey Boo Boo, when Pumpkin got in the grocery cart and nobody was watching her but the cameraman, and she just fell out of the grocery cart and busted her ass in the grocery store. I know kids can be kids, but damn, I'm just scared one of them's really going to get hurt one of these times. And now I want to talk about a quick little update. So June actually went live the other day on TikTok, and she was answering questions, and people were asking her, where were all the other kids when Josh got in that wreck? Because he dropped off Ella, and people are like, okay, where are the other kids? I was going to assume that maybe they were with Josh's mother at the time, but June actually answered, and she said that when Josh dropped off Ella and got in that crash, his new girlfriend at the time, which is now his current baby mama, was at the house that they film at, Pumpkin's house, watching the rest of the kids. And that just goes to show that June forgets the timelines, or forgets like all the stuff that they have to lie about to try to make their storyline real. And that goes to show that Josh had already been dating somebody else at that point. The family already knew who she was. They were comfortable enough with her to watch the kids by herself. And Josh had already moved out at that point. And I even saw that in the divorce paperwork. Like, he lived there for a short little while, but it was only like a month or two after they broke up that he was living there before he finally moved out. A lot of people on the Mama June from Not So Hot Reddit were also calling this out. One person called this out in a post, and other people were calling it out in the comments. And it just is so frustrating. Like, they don't even try to hide how fake it is. And you know what? Like, a lot of the family, it's so obvious when they're acting. But for Josh, legit, from my perspective, it always seemed like, in my opinion, like, I always felt like his scenes were authentic, and if he was acting, then I definitely couldn't tell. And I definitely feel like him no longer being on the show as much, now that him and Pumpkin are no longer together, it's gonna kind of take away some authenticity from the show, unless Darren's as good as an actor as Josh is. And now that explains why, after Josh found out that Pumpkin was dating Darren, I think he already knew at this point, why he said, okay, I'm gonna grab my stuff and move out. It sounds like from the divorce paperwork and from what June was saying, he was already moved out at that point. But that's it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think about everything in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching.